Today on the newscast, for the second time in 2 weeks, the Iranian regime warns the world that it is capable of producing a nuclear weapon. Plus, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps threatens New York City. Get all the breaking details next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. Is the Iranian regime about to bully the West into signing on to a disastrous new version of the Iran nuclear deal? Two words here, folks: blackmail and extortion. We're about to break it down. Of course, over the past few months here on the newscast, we've been telling you that the Iran nuclear deal is now on life support, but that hasn't stopped the Biden administration and the European Union from desperately approaching Iran's regime and practically begging for a new deal, despite continued provocations by the regime against the West. We are going to break it down in a minute. Before I do, I just want to encourage you to subscribe to the Watchman Newscast right here on YouTube and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. Hey, we are fast approaching 500,000 subscribers. 500,000, and we can't thank you enough, our watchmen and women on the wall who are shoulder to shoulder with us for such a time as this. As we break down all of the latest news coming out of the world's most chaotic and volatile region, the Middle East, and why it matters to you no matter where you live. So be sure to subscribe. Hey, the Iranian regime right now feeling pretty good about itself, folks. Today, Monday, August 1st, the head of Iran's atomic energy program, Mohammad Eslami, said that Iran is now, quote, technically capable of producing a nuclear bomb, but it has not decided to do so, according to Eslami. Now, this follows comments just 2 weeks ago that we reported here on the newscast by Kamal Karazi, who's a senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader and presumably does not say anything in public without the blessing of the supreme leader. Karazi said the exact same thing. He said, we are now technically capable of producing a nuclear weapon, but we have not chosen to do so yet, I might add. So you might be saying, well, what's the big deal? We've been talking about the Iran nuclear crisis and the mullah's drive for the bomb for, 20 years now, if not more. But folks, this is a new level in rhetoric. And I say that because for years, the Iranian regime has said its nuclear weapons program, that's what it is, folks, it's a military-grade nuclear weapons program. The regime has said in public, hey, it's a peaceful program for civilian purposes. We have every right to produce nuclear energy just as other nations do. That's been the public face of the Iranian regime, and they have consistently denied for decades now any desire to develop nuclear weapons. And now, twice in the past 2 weeks alone, the veil has lifted, and suddenly, after decades of denial, the Iranian regime is saying, hey, if we want to, we can produce a bomb. It's real simple, folks, the strategy here. It is a combination of blackmail and extortion against the West. In the lead-in, I said, look, is the Iranian regime about to bully the West into a horrible nuclear deal? And if Europe has any say in it, they may very well do just that. The European Union essentially groveling right now and saying, we want to keep the deal alive. Please, Iran, come back to the negotiating table. Work with us. The Biden administration, somewhat surprisingly, has actually said, or at least an official who's been involved in these nuclear talks, has said, a new nuclear deal at this point is unlikely because Iran doesn't want to play ball. We've outlined here on the newscast now for months the game that the Iranian regime is playing, making unreachable, unrealistic demands and refusing to make any concessions on their end, just as they did in 2015 when the Obama administration nevertheless signed the first incarnation of this disastrous Iran nuclear deal. Even the Biden administration, and I have not been a fan, needless to say, of this administration's foreign policy or its approach, its weak approach to the Iranian regime, which includes even considering a new Iran nuclear deal. Nevertheless, even the Biden administration seems to be more realistic than the European Union, which again, Britain, France, Germany, they desperately want to keep this deal alive and come to some sort of agreement with the Iranian regime. And the regime gets it, folks. Read between the lines, West, European Union, United States. If you don't agree to a new nuclear deal and give us exactly what we want, there's no telling what we might do. We may even break out and announce that we have the bomb or test a nuclear device because, again, we have the capability to do exactly that. This is the messaging that the West is receiving. Iran now lifting the veil and saying, they're not saying this publicly, but this is the message that's being conveyed. Make no mistake about it. Give us what we want, sign on the dotted line to a new Iran nuclear deal, or else. And guess what? The West is all too willing to play the game. We'll see what the Biden administration does. Again, recently they've been saying, hey, a new deal looks unlikely, but Europe is lining up to do the deal, folks. Despite Iran's continued provocations throughout the world, in the Middle East, its support of terror proxies that are devoted to Israel and America's destruction, its massive stockpile and growing of ballistic missiles, precision-guided missiles, its massive attack drone arsenal, despite all that, do not be surprised if you wake up one day and you hear some sort of agreement signed between Europe, in the very least, and Iran. And the U.S. here is the wild card, because with every fiber of his being, Joe Biden wants to sign the dotted line with Iran, believe me. We'll see what happens there. We're keeping a close eye on all of that, blackmail and extortion, and it is working, folks. Last point here. On the Iran nuclear threat and lifting the veil, there's a social media app called Telegram, reportedly on which Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is the vanguard of that regime, they answer directly to the supreme leader. The IRGC on their Telegram account reportedly recently posted a video titled, I have the name right here in front of me, "When Will Iran's Sleeping Nuclear Warheads Awaken?" Very nice title. And they threatened to break out in rapid fire fashion and develop the bomb if America and the Zionist entity, in their words, Israel, made any false moves. Not only that, I'm just reading some quotes here directly. They said that their ballistic missiles, which I just mentioned, can turn New York City into hellish ruins. So this is a direct and open threat by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps against an American city. Yet the Biden administration is still even considering these talks. Until tomorrow, thanks so much for joining us here on the Watchman Newscast. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, click subscribe, and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications for new Watchman Newscast episodes every weekday.